On September 7, 2019, education writer Carolyn Alfonso of the Globe and Mail newspaper published a damning report on the state of order and discipline in Canadian schools. She relates the story of Jen Hare, a special education teacher in Barrie, Ontario, who was brutally assaulted by a student who delivered 45 blows, leaving the teacher with traumatic brain injury and unable to work. Biting, kicking, spitting, scratching, punching, blows to the head, aggressive, often violent reported incidents against educators are on the rise. Across Canada and the United States, violence within the walls of our classrooms is rising dramatically. In over 40 years of working within the public school system, I have never witnessed the level of disruption and appeasement now occurring due to a far-left agenda. It is time we find out what's happening to our education system and why.
We asked teachers during the Ontario teachers' strike to give their perspective on school violence. Look out for our street interview on this subject.
Educators in the Toronto District School Board logged 3,831 reports of workplace violence in the 2018-19 school year. This was up 102% over 3 years. In Edmonton Public Schools, similar violence in classrooms doubled between 2015 and 2017. Such increases in violence are being reported by education authorities across the continent. The same article reports that in Nova Scotia, Paul Wozni of the Nova Scotia Teachers Union related that one provincial classroom was evacuated 12 times in a single month because of a disruptive child. How is it that such a situation has been permitted to develop? A single generation ago, Canadian schools were known for being orderly, with generally well-mannered students going to school to be educated in academic subjects, physical fitness, and learning skills in industrial arts and home economics. Schools were still places of learning. Administrators maintained a civil and respectful environment, and teachers provided learning that would enable the youth to take their place in supporting the economic and cultural furtherance of the nation. There were some instances of misbehavior, but these were quickly dealt with, and students and teachers did not fear for their safety. Children in those schools reflected the spectrum of social order. There were rich and poor, locally born and immigrant. They learned and played together. Today, however, schools are no longer as I have just described. They have become laboratories for social experiments, where children are, in some cases, nothing more than lab rats for unproven educational theories like child-centered education and discovery learning or constructivism. It is interesting that not a single one of these initiatives has been positively correlated to improve student learning through quantified measures. In fact, virtually all of the manifestations of progressive education have shown negative impacts when measured on standardized assessments. Another change has been occurring simultaneously, pushed again not by teachers, but by far-left activists. It is a key contributor to the crisis now stalking our schools. For many decades, educators realized the need to serve children who, for one reason or another, were not able to manage the mainstream program of study. A half-century ago, it was common to have some children in a classroom on a type of modified or differentiated curriculum. As long as the range of needs in a class was not too great, and the behavioral atmosphere was positive, learning occurred successfully. More severe needs were accommodated by special programs set up within school communities to deal with students who required much more intensive support and supervision. Those with very pronounced learning challenges were dealt with in special needs environments, but still associated with other students in the social activities of the school. Today, however, the radical left, which seems to have usurped control of many education systems, is corrupting the term inclusion, interpreting it far beyond its intended dimension. No teacher, regardless of training, can successfully educate a classroom of students if the range of needs is too great, or if there is present a student who is violent or overly disruptive. The Nova Scotian example of evacuating a classroom 12 times in a month shows that jurisdictional or provincial leaders, in the name of inclusion, have chosen to deny the majority of students their right to be educated, all to accommodate one disruptive student. This is unconscionable, but it is occurring all too often and is one of the key reasons why our schools are failing our nation. Parents have every right to expect the best education possible for their children and to be in a safe environment where students comply with rules and standards of behavior. All students may deserve an education, but no student deserves to have their education disrupted or endangered by a deviant student, regardless of the cause of that deviance. In many cases, the teacher is given a set of students, the makeup of which is such they cannot reasonably carry out their responsibility. The rapidly rising violence in our schools, as reported by the Globe and Mail, is a wake-up call. Society has allowed radicals to make accommodation demands of school systems that are fully irrational, wasteful of money and instructional talent, and worst of all, denying our children the opportunity to maximize their potential. To allow this is unreasonable and unprofessional of senior administration. It is time to return to the social and educational values that laid the foundation for the wealth and achievements of our Western nations.
Subscribe and click the notification bell to receive updates about new content. Visit tomorrowsworld.org for more articles, telecasts and booklets.